when you have all this stored energy on you, you don't need calories. Like straight up.
You are the calorie. Welcome everyone to the first episode of Fatloss with Max. On the right side of the screen we have Max. Who are you, Max? Why are you the fat loss expert?
Yeah, so I started my weight loss journey about 4 years ago during the beginning of COVID. Since then, I've lost about 200 pounds. I started when I was 430 pounds when I was 18 years old. And from then, I lost the initial 200 pounds in about 2 years. And then since then, I've been roughly around the same weight, just getting leaner and leaner at like 230. So
And now you're at the same weight. Is it the goal to build muscle and basically maintain the same weight to build up some muscle and lose fat at the same time? Or are you at a plateau where you can't lose more fat? What's the situation there?
right now, I just started a hard cut. I have about like 25 pounds I want to lose still of fat. I'd like to see how lean I can get and just, for the fun of it. So yeah, that's what I just started doing. But for a while, I've pretty much been at, the same body fat, kind of just maintaining pretty much.
So even after losing 200 pounds, there's still a road to go to actually get to a lean body level? Or
Yes.
how's it
Yeah.
looking right now? What body fat percentage would you say you are at right now after losing 200 pounds?
So I carry my fat in the worst spots, so my lower back and my midsection. So I definitely don't. So I'm probably like 18% right now, but my legs are like shredded. So,
Mm.
but yeah, I would say I'm like 18 to 20, and I don't want to be 18 to 20. I think I could definitely go further than that. I've been but slow and steady. Like over the years, I've gradually gotten leaner. Like when I first cut down, I was definitely skinny fat. I was 200 pounds and like I was like no muscle at all pretty much. I definitely looked emaciated.
Okay.
So there was that part like towards the end where I was just like there was no point in cutting anymore cuz like I'm just losing muscle and in my metabolic rate had downregulated so much cuz I was in a deficit for 2 straight years, a hard deficit for 2 straight years. And yeah, it was just at that point I needed to raise my calories up.
And what did you do to basically revert that slowing down of the metabolism? Because that's what we see often, of course, with people that are trying to lose extreme amounts of weight or try to do it in an extremely short time, like with a crash diet. At some point, you can only lower the calories, of course, yeah, to a certain extent. At some point, there's not much to be lowered. I mean, if you're already eating only 1,000 calories a day, you're not going to lower it to 500, for example.
Yeah.
What did you do to actually try to turn it around? How did you increase your metabolic rate again to then create a situation where you were able to prolong again your fat loss phase, where you would be able to lose more fat? How did you? What was your approach for that?
So I did a thing called reverse dieting. I did it more aggressive because technically, if you're tracking very diligently, you should be raising your calories like about like 50 every day, and that's considered pretty aggressive. However, I did about 200 every about week, so or like 250 every week. So I would start just like right off the bat, increase 250, and throughout this time, I was still doing cardio. I would walk for about like 45 minutes a day. So like 8,000 steps, which, a decent bit, but not a ton. I remember I started at 1,600 calories at 200 pounds, and I gradually increased for about 2 months all the way up to like, I think it was 2,800. And I actually started the recomp at that point. I didn't gain any fat, started building muscle, had more energy. I was moving around more throughout the day. So my NEAT went up, but it was a gradual increase of calories, both in carbs and fats over time. So at this time, I was always tracking my food very diligently, increasing slowly and monitoring progress both with measurements and on the scale.
And did you try to adjust the cardio and movement aligned with the calorie increase to basically balance it out, or was it more so you just increase the calories and then on top of that also because of different reasons increase the movement? Or was the idea behind the reverse diet to increase calories, increase movement, so you're not gaining actual weight but are actually completely raising your metabolism? Or what was the exact idea behind the cardio plus calorie increasement?
So I actually didn't raise cardio at all. That was one of the things
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
want to do.
I
Yeah.
thought you said you raised it.
No, no, sorry. Cardio was kept the same. So
Okay.
yeah, cardio was kept the same. I felt like I was already doing a lot of cardio, and that was like the last thing I wanted to do was increase it. And it was kind of, don't get me wrong, that's scary as someone who just lost 200 pounds to like say, okay, now you need to eat more, and you also are going to eat more and not do more cardio to burn it off. It's like that's scary because like you have this mindset you always want to lose weight, but getting out of that mindset, say, okay, I need to like actually like repair my body. I need to build muscle, so therefore I'm able to eat more because muscle is more metabolically active than fat. The more muscle you have, the more you're going to be able to eat just off of that. So yeah,
And
the
did
cardio was kept the same, and it was a gradual increase of calories, and I actually lost body fat and gained a little bit of muscle at that time. I've learned throughout the years, though, my metabolism is very adaptive. So if I raise calories, like I'll just start moving more like throughout the day. Even if I don't like actually like consciously raise cardio or raise steps, I'll just be like fidgeting more throughout the day, and so it's very like that's why like it's hard for me to lose weight. Like I have to really crash diet and drop my calories a lot. But if I want to gain weight, I really have to increase it. So
Yeah, and that's a big part because I also notice it now during my prep right now. Basically, the lower I go in calories and the more movement I do, the body really tries to compensate in different parts of your life. And that's what people often consider, and they say, yeah, the body is is shutting down or something like that. You can't lose weight anymore because the metabolism stops, or your body doesn't want to burn anymore. No, it's those small things that you do in life. Like right now, I constantly need to make sure I'm sitting upright because my body doesn't have energy to keep me upright, and otherwise I would be slouched down like this. I notice it often when I'm going in the train. Like after half an hour, I'm sitting like this in the chair because my body doesn't want to use energy to sit myself up. The same goes with, like you said, with fidgeting. I now consciously have to tell myself, okay, move your leg when you're sitting, because during a bulk, I'm always having this restless leg syndrome where I'm bouncing with my legs because I have so much energy. But that stops during my cut. So now it's an active thing that I need to try to do to keep myself at the constant same, basically calorie output. But that's something that people often forget is your body really tries to compensate in those small areas. Like imagine if you're always fidgeting with your fingers on the table. Now your body doesn't do that anymore. That's maybe 30 calories over the day that your body is not burning. Same for your legs. I believe it's 50 calories an hour or something like that. Well, that's something that my body is not doing anymore 12 hours a day. So that's already maybe 400 calories that I'm skipping over. And those are movement aspects. But now if you go into your brain, you're probably thinking way slower. Your body doesn't really want to think. Before you were reading a book or reading some papers, and now your body's like, okay, we're going to watch a YouTube video. We don't need to do anything. That's also, again, less calories. Even though it sounds weird, it's still calories. Um, but yeah, your body really tries to compensate in that way, and you really need to be conscious of that because it will be really hard otherwise to not lose calories, and then you will sit there and you think, okay, I need to go lower and lower and lower in calories. Why am I not burning? Why am I not burning? But your body's just getting lazier and lazier and lazier. And the same goes for steps. I mean, you talked about your step count. Now you have one of those walking pads that really keeps you conscious and active of your steps. But during a bulk, you're like, okay, fine. I walk through the supermarket. Okay, it's a 20-minute walk, but now it's the cut, and I'm like, uh, I'll take the train or I'll take the car. Fuck those 20 minutes of walking. But that's already, I mean, 2,000 steps probably, or 3,000 steps maybe that you're skipping over.
yeah, depending on how much
So
you weigh, that's 200 calories you burn right there.
exactly. So your body gets really lazy at some point. That's why it's important to track everything, to keep a journal, to yeah, be have an active thought process of what you're doing, and then it will be really easy, and you will see really early on that you stop doing things. Because when you're writing everything down, if you're, for example, not regulating your steps during your bulk, you were taking easily 10,000 steps a day, and now during a cut, your body tries to skip on everything. You're not walking to the kitchen as much as often. Maybe you're not doing the laundry as often as you should, because your body wants to get lazy. It's like, okay, we can just fill up the laundry bucket with 2 times the amount, and then we only need to walk once.
Yeah.
And if you then don't track your steps, for example, those 10,000 steps turn to 5,000 steps over the day, and that's maybe 300, 400 calories that you're missing out on. Yeah, so do you track your information, and how roughly or how thoroughly do you track your steps, weight, maybe other metrics that you're keeping track of, like your satiation, maybe cravings? Are you doing something like that? Do you see any added benefit from doing something like that?
Yeah, I think if you're serious, if you're really serious about making progress, track literally everything. I have data on myself every single day consistently over a 2 year period. So I track all my calories in Chronometer. Now I have a coach, so I have a diet spreadsheet. I have specific macros for each meal. I generally I eat roughly the same foods every single day. So, oats, chicken, lean ground beef. I eat the same carb protein sources. I season with the same, seasoning sauces, and it's just consistency. And also, I have an Apple Watch that tracks my steps, and also, I track. I think that's very important. Is having some sort of like activity tracker. It doesn't have to be an Apple Watch, just something to track your movement, because I think that's very important. Getting in 8 to 10,000 steps a day, especially if your goal is fat loss, that's very important. I mean, obviously strength training is important too, but if you're not moving throughout the day, and also training data, I think that's also super important, making sure you're increasing in strength. At least, obviously if you're a beginner, you can probably get away with, every single week increasing in your lifts, either in volume, either in reps or sets or weight. There's a lot of ways you can increase training intensity and, increase in strength throughout the week. You can do, like I said, volume, reps, sets. You could do like slower reps. That's another way of doing it, emphasizing the stretch. But having some sort of way you're tracking your workouts, I think, is very important, especially on a cut. So you make sure you're not losing muscle, because generally with it, when there's a strength decrease in the gym, I mean, you could probably correlate that with either a loss of muscle or, if you're if you're dieting super hard, I think you're going to lose strength anyways. If you're doing it like a really hard cut, just because you don't have the carbohydrates there for you. And that's why I think also a pre and post workout meal is incredibly important
Yeah,
if
so
you're
if
trying to
you're having
retain muscle on a
carbs,
cut.
always structure them around the workout. I would always prefer not having carbs maybe in the first meal, the second meal, if I then can allow myself to get them in around the training window, because that will drastically increase the performance during the gym. So yeah, skip on those oats in the morning, skip a pasta in the first meal and only eat chicken with some vegetables maybe. And then you can allow yourself to, for example, have some cream of rice pre-workout and maybe a little bit of intra-workout shake. That will already have such an amazing impact on your training. And then as well, even if you're crash dieting, at least allow yourself some carbohydrates, rather cut out some fats. I mean, you're already crashing your hormones to extreme means anyway. So those 10, 20 grams more fat are not really going to help you at that point. So then I would really not go for like a keto approach personally. I would then say, let's get those 180 calories from the 20 grams of fat, for example, in carbohydrates. Pre-workout, for example. I think that would then really have a benefit. But how did you do that? Did you do like a specific diet sort? Did you just go for a general whole foods diet with all the macros in there? Did you go for a keto approach? Was there anything specific that you did on the initial fat loss phase that you had?
So before I started going to the gym, my mom actually suggested it to me. It was keto. Of course, since keto is just another way to do a calorie deficit. And since I wasn't actually strength training at the time, I think, keto was a good approach for me. Personally, it made me feel like absolute crap because I just didn't have any carbs there. And especially because I'm coming off of this massive 10,000 calorie a day junk food diet and immediately going
And 8,000 calories of carbs.
yeah, exactly. And sugar, just massive amounts of carbs every day
Yeah.
and going straight keto, like just one day to the next. I felt like garbage for 3 months. I mean, I lost 50 pounds, don't get me wrong. But I think if you're strength training, keto definitely is not the way to go. And eventually, when I started going to the gym, I I just went to pretty much like a 90% whole food diet. A staple for me was it was, shrimp and rice, chicken and potatoes, along with like mixed veggies on the side. That was most of my meals. I had to have oatmeal or protein oatmeal for breakfast. So, super simple diet. And I remember when I started tracking calories also when I went to the gym or started going to the gym. So I was probably 350 pounds when I started going to the gym. And I immediately set I think it was Derek from More Plates, More Dates. He talked about like having he just like spit out a number pretty much like, oh, like 2,500 calories is a good amount for a cut for most people. It's like, okay, I'll just put my calories at 2,500. And I remember I think I was losing like 5 pounds a week. So, but I was also like doing a crap ton of cardio. I was going to the gym 7 days a week. That's how serious I was. And each time I was doing an hour and a half of elliptical on top of my lifting. Yeah, so that's how like obsessed pretty much I was with losing weight and how dedicated I was. And then
Yeah.
eventually I dropped my calories down to 1,600. Like, and it wasn't like it's 1,600 calories. No, it was like a legit 1,600 calories. And that was around when I hit like 250. And then I started losing fat pretty fast again, and eventually it stalled. So
And would you then say that would be a good approach for someone that's actually at an obese level, like you were? Do you think the crash diet form is the right way to go, or would you say it's preferable to extend a longer period of time, let's say 4 years, for example, even though that's excruciating? Would you say a 4 year period, for example, with a proper calorie deficit, like maybe a bodybuilder would do during a prep? Would that be the better approach, or do you think that the state of obesity, the high level of body fat, is so unhealthy that it's better to do an extreme crash diet to get away as fast as you possibly can from that obese state and get to a at least normal-ish level of body fat, that you then would say cut down those calories to the extremest possible level you can handle and keep pushing on those calories until nothing is possible anymore? Would that be the right approach, you think?
I think it depends on the person. How serious are you about losing this weight? If you're like incredibly serious, you're ready to put in the work, go right ahead, crash diet because you have so much fat on you. Like I was probably at least 70% body fat. When you have all this stored energy on you, you don't need calories. Like straight up. I
You are the
mean,
calorie.
yeah, like you have so much stored energy
Yeah.
on you, and all that muscle I built, I was just coming from my fat. I was in such an extreme deficit. I at the start I was losing a pound a day. Like and when you're that heavy, you can get away with that. Your
True.
muscle loss
Yeah.
isn't an issue because you have so much fat on you. So I think, yeah, if you're serious, definitely I advocate for a crash diet. But if
Okay.
you're like once you get to around like I'd say or ideal, I think I'm speaking like average American here, 25% body fat and lower, I'd say I would advocate for more of a relaxed approach, like 1,000 to 500 calorie deficit. So like like the 2 pound a week, I would say is good.
Okay, so the approach would be, if you are actually serious about wanting to lose fat, like you actually have a clear motivation for yourself, you're like, okay, screw this. I don't want to be fat anymore. I need to go down. If that's your actual mindset, then you would advise to say, okay, screw it. I'm cutting down these calories as hard as I can. Maybe before you were eating 5,000 calories, now you're dropping it to 2,500. Then you're just crashing as low as you possibly can. And once you reach this 25% body fat level, which would be at least more acceptable, once you reach that, then you would say just do a normal, healthy cut to get to a body fat level of example, like 15%. That would be the approach you would give someone that is actually motivated and wants to change, right?
Yeah, if you're like triple digits or more obese, yeah, 100%. Yeah, the crash dieting is going to be more healthy for you than being at the weight you're at, and having that much fat on you. Because yeah, you're doing yourself a disservice by staying at that body fat percentage, and getting away as quickly as possible from that is definitely should be a priority.
Yeah, but it's of course really hard because not everyone has this clear and extreme motivation. I mean, everyone that's obese, fat, overweight, looks in the mirror and probably thinks like, how did I get here? Why am I like this? I want to change. But actually making the change is of course the most difficult part. Otherwise, they would have made the change. What would you then advise to people that don't really have this clear motivation yet? Because it's really, I mean, you need to get it from somewhere. And the only person that can do it is yourself. But it's really hard to tell people how they can motivate themselves. So what was your personal approach for that? Why did you want to make the change? And how would you then maybe try to motivate or stimulate someone to get the same motivation?
So for me, it was very like all of a sudden. I was bullied very heavily throughout school. Early in college, like I knew people treated me like crap and I hated, how I looked in the mirror. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror because that's how unhappy I was with myself. And again, I would just drown myself in food. But my motivation was I had a doctor tell me like you're gonna die if you keep like in a couple of years if you just keep going down this road. And obviously I'm 18 years old at the time, so dying at 20, and because I stopped weighing myself at 4:30, it wasn't. I was definitely heavier at some point, but that was just what I stopped weighing myself at. And when your only other choice is dying, that's a pretty good motivation to lose weight. That's why I wanted to get away from that so quickly, is because I don't want to die at 20. And I could barely walk at that point as well. So it's like, how much longer can I dig myself deeper into this hole? I need to get out somehow. I think if you're like finding the motivation, I think you need to ask yourself, like, do you have family that you want to be around for? Do you have a wife and kids that you possibly, want to take care of when you're older? I mean, because being morbidly obese, you're not going to be able to take care of your family. They're going to be taking care of you when you're, lying on your deathbed, and you're going to be a liability to them. And also, just if you're fat, I mean, you get treated way worse in society. Through like I was treated horribly. I will tell you that life is so much better on the other side. It's so worth it. Losing weight will be the best thing you ever do. It's better than, if better than money, better than anything. Your quality of life is just going to improve so much. And I think finding that motivation within yourself is just ask yourself, what's important to you? And like asking yourself, also finding the problems of why you got fat in the first place. For me, it was, depression and emotionally eating. And I think finding a way to, and, talk, if you need to get professional help with medicine, that's what I did. And just, talking to somebody in regard, a dietitian or a doctor. But I think having other people tell you that you have a problem, because that's also, my parents were constantly telling me, like, you need to lose weight. You're fat. Like, and eventually got tired of that. I think people around you also need to be, truthful, and you need to also have that internal talk with yourself too. Because, if you're that fat, like you obviously you're miserable all the time.
We're not talking about being like regular fat, we're talking about like obesity levels. It's basically a life or death situation. Maybe you will reach 40 if you're lucky, but at some point it's going to catch up on you in some way or form.
Yeah,
And you will definitely die from it. So I think
really.
that, like you said, is a really big motivator. If someone would tell me, yeah, you're going to die from what you're doing in this exact same way, then it would really wake myself up, and I would think, okay, life is worth more than eating these cheesecakes and and drowning myself in food. And like you already mentioned, I think it's really important, especially in these cases when we're like actually talking about obesity. It's a mental problem. It's not just getting fat. Like everyone nowadays, of course, 80% of the United States, I believe, is overweight. So that's just something that happens. I mean, if you don't really take care of yourself, you eat too much, you gain weight over the years, you get overweight. That's often not as much a mental problem, but with obesity, we really need to take 10 steps back and look at the root cause. Because some people have binge eating problems, other people eat when they're stressed. I mean, it's also binge eating, but It has a lot of different types of reasons why it occurs. And we can try to then lose the weight, but maybe at some point, like yourself said, you get depressed again. And what happens then? Then you know, oh, the quick and easy fix is me eating food because then I feel better. So you go to the shopping mall again, you load up your cart with cake and candy and whatever, and then you're back at the same level in a couple of years. So it's really important to take those steps back, look at the root cause, and then fix it. And what was your root cause? Was it, I mean, you said you felt bad, you were depressed. Was that actually the reason why you started eating? Because this started at a young age, right? It's not like you started this when you were already 25. I mean, you got bullied in school for it. So, what was the initial reason that you started consuming so much food? And what were the reasons that it kept happening over and over?
Yeah, so I have bipolar disorder as well as ADHD. And when I was 5 years old, I actually got prescribed a medication called Abilify. If you want to do a little bit of research on it, there was a lawsuit in 2008, or a class action lawsuit that got settled, that they found there was this company reached out to a bunch of medical doctors that really, and they were pushing this on young children that likely did not need the medication. And one of the main side effect of this medication was extreme weight gain, as in like 50, 100, 150 pounds. Like this, what that was a extreme, like that was reported in more than half the cases, and high levels of impulsivity. So as someone who's already impulsive at the same time, and I was a normal weight before this medication, and I never had a crazy appetite or cravings or anything like that. I was a relatively normal weight as a kid. And until I took this medication, it was like my brain chemistry changed, and I instantly just crave sweets all the damn time. And I developed, binge eating. Like I just wanted to eat everything in sight, and it had to be sweets. And I wouldn't say it was like an overnight change, but it was a gradual. Like as the years went on, it got worse and worse and worse, and I started gaining fat, faster and faster. And it wasn't really till I was like 16 years old and I got a job at the time and I got a car and I was kind of more independent, that I started gaining weight faster because I could then, go to the store and, get this food for myself. I could pay for this food myself because my parents were always very, very adamant about like, no sweets, no nothing. They would lock the freaking cabinets on me. Like for people that would like, there's a lot of people that like blame my parents for the reason I'm fat. No, they were trying their best to stop it.
And
But
at that age, 16, were you still on the medication, or was it by then a deeper rooted issue that you had habits that you created, or you were still taking this medicine?
yeah, I was taking this medicine until I turned 18, because at least in America, that's when you're legally considered an adult and you can then make medication changes for yourself. But until then, it is your parents that make these changes for you. It is not you. So when I was 18, I made the choice to get off this medication. That was one of the first things I did. And it helped to a point, but I was so deep, like again, these habits were so ingrained that the habits didn't like magically, drop. And it was like, oh, I got off medication, boom, I lost a bunch of weight. It was like I really had to like dig deep and like kick these bad habits that I had, because, getting off the medication, okay, I don't have this insane craving anymore, but I was still eating the same way because I had just done it for so many years.
Okay. And was it that these habits, like that formed the overeating, were they linked to certain situations, or was it just in general that you were constantly eating? Because I know right now you are again, or maybe newly struggling with binge eating problems.
Yeah.
Was that comparable to it? Were there certain situation where the hunger or the craving for food arised, or was it just in general you were constantly craving food?
No, I would have nightly binges and they would only happen at night. And I think I felt like a deep unhappiness with myself. And I felt like a lack of like purpose. I felt like I was worthless. As a 18-year-old who's 430 pounds and you have nothing going for you.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've dug yourself so deep in a hole. What else do you have but, to, feed your food addiction, like that was my drug of choice. It's like, I think a food addiction's no different than if you're a meth addict or an alcoholic. It's the same kind of addiction. It's, you're searching for this fix that you want to get. And
Yeah, and
food
it's
was that fix for
extremely
me.
addictive, man.
Oh my
I
God.
I
Yeah.
have the same after my first cut. I ate exactly the same for 14 weeks long. This was my first cut at 18 years old, I think. And I had everything on point. I wasn't even craving anything. Like the entire diet. I was so focused on the diet, and then I remember this so clearly. At week 14, I then, even though I didn't need it, I was like, okay, I'm going to reward myself because I managed to not cheat on the diet for 14 weeks. I'm going to reward myself, even though I didn't really crave it or want it. And I decided to make some cookies with my girlfriend. So we baked those cookies, and I think they were this big. They were like these huge cookies, and I think we made 30 of them.
Oh
And
my
they were,
God.
were those covered cookies with pretzels and
Oh
chocolate
yeah.
inside and
Inclusions. Yeah.
everything. And I remember this feeling to a T. The second, because I wasn't eating any sugar the entire diet long, the second I inserted the first piece of cookie, something in my brain completely shifted. I ate all of the cookies in one sitting, combined with 2 liters of milk where I was dipping them in, and I wasn't even thinking anymore. My brain literally shut off, and I was just pushing all. It were these big, these cookies. I was pushing in all of them, and from that moment on, I wanted to do a longer diet. I wasn't able to do a diet anymore. Each and every day, I was searching the house like an absolute wild animal for food. I went to the cabin, the closet where we have all the food, at least 10 times a day, looking for some form of carbohydrate I could shove into myself. And I went there constantly, even though I knew there was no new food. I was literally like a ravaging animal. I was like searching for food. It was completely insane. And I was going to the supermarket every day, buying some candy, chips, whatever. And before that, I never really knew the level of like addictiveness of this food. It's not addictiveness of sugar, because we're not eating sugar out of a packet, so it's not sugar that we're addicted to. It's the how tasty the food is combined with like the fats. It's like perfectly made for us to eat, and the body thinks, yes, this is the perfect energy bomb. It tastes so good. We're going to eat this. But from that moment on, that was the first time I realized how addictive food can be. And I never had it before. Even though during a bulk, I of course would eat some snacks here and there, but I never really got the trigger to eat so much shit. And yeah, I literally I remember that feeling in my head. It was I was looking at that cookie. I was like, okay, cookie, nice. And I put it in my mouth, and the moment I swallowed it, it was like click, and in the movies when like the pupils enlarge when
Yeah.
they're
Like
taking
monkey
some
brain
drugs.
turns on.
It was literally that. It was like, vroom, and I was cookie, 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 cookie. And from that moment, I believe I was in this phase of like just eating and eating and eating for at least 5 weeks until I had eaten so much I just didn't want to eat anymore. So that was for me then the changing point again. I know it's not comparable to like obesity levels and binge eating, but I think the period it was like 5 weeks of binge eating for me. Yeah, and that's as well if you now take it away from the obesity to bodybuilding. I mean that's what we also see, of course, in competitors when at the end of a show you have like this achievement in your head, bam, it's achieved, show done, and then binge eating attack.
Yeah, they
And then
gained
yeah,
30 pounds in a week. Just because
exactly
like
with
the water weight and the oh my
yeah,
all
of just edema in the ankles, like all the water in the ankles. That's basically what they gain. And everyone's like, "Whoa, reverse diet, post contest gain. I have gained 30 pounds of lean mass. Yeah, it's 30 pounds of water in your heart and in your ankle." But yeah, that was the first time I experienced something like that, and I really understand why people are obese. I don't really blame them or the society for it. I mean, the food is just so extremely addictive, and it's
Yeah,
made in
especially in
such a way
America.
that it's so
Like,
easy to eat. Yeah, I've never been to America, so I only heard anecdotally, of course, how bad it is over there. I know over here it's way better, and dirty food is too expensive. I mean, I can buy chicken rice, be done with 150 euros a month. But if I would want to eat the same amount of calories with dirty food, I mean, 1 kilograms of like candy already costs 15 euros or something. So
Damn.
it's way more expensive over here. So I can imagine in America it's an easy, really easy way to get to gain weight. It's
Yeah.
probably cheaper than drugs, and it's of course a combination of societal problems, mental problems, price of the food, and then also the way the food is made.
Yeah.
Because
Ease
they
of
want to get
access.
you addictive. Easy
Yeah.
access. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, more than
uh,
half the store is processed crap. Like more than half the grocery store is.
yeah, and then I mean over here in Europe, it's then it's the question, what do you define as processed? But I mean, I would here say 80. The main problem is highly processed foods. Like a piece
Cake
of
and
bread is also processed, but it's not that bad. So I think
yeah.
here I could say the supermarket is maybe 70% normal processed food and then 30% over processed food. Like we have one aisle with half candy, chocolate or yeah, like chocolate bars, chocolate candy, maybe half an aisle with candy, and then some cookies. And that's then basically the extreme high processed stuff. And then we have this big of a freezer with some pizzas, and then the rest is just like semi-processed stuff like fish sticks and whatever. But I can imagine in America, I saw yesterday a video of Rich Piana where he opened the cooling fridge in the supermarket, and it was just 50 different options of Ben and Jerry's, and that was
Yeah.
just one fridge.
Yeah.
And here we have like 4 flavors, and
We have
I
an
can
entire
imagine the
aisle dedicated
accessibility
to ice
is crazy.
cream.
Exactly,
Entire
it's
aisle.
so insane. Here we have like then one part of the freezing aisle, one of those racks, basically one mini home freezer is then different ice cream options. But I can imagine in America it's wild, and then the stuff that they add into it is so highly addictive. Most of it's banned anyway here in Europe.
Yeah. Oh
But
my gosh.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
wild.
crazy. Yeah. A pint of Ben and Jerry's is like it's 1,500 calories like on average. That's why I love the Ninja Creamy. It's like
Yeah,
fit your macros and
yeah,
it's
man. I
great.
have one as well. I asked it for my birthday, and yeah, my mom uses it a lot. It's so good, man. You can make basically everything. Recently, I wanted to do a little cheat, so I made a bit more dirty ice cream. But then the base was light ice cream, but I added in some toppings. Like I made
Yeah.
Bueno. Do you know Bueno? Do they
Yeah,
have that in
Kinder Bueno.
America?
Yeah,
Kinder
they
Bueno.
have that here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I made the Kinder Bueno ice cream. I base then was a little bit of quark, so
Okay.
like yogurt, and then whey protein, vanilla. Then I added in some hazelnut flavor drops, I think,
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
and then I just blended it, and it was and I added in white chocolate, so that was a little bit dirty, but not that bad. And
Yeah, it's still
yeah,
so
it's
much
maybe
better
then
than
for
Ben
the
and Jerry's.
entire pint was maybe 400 calories, something like that.
That's nothing.
Yeah, and
Seriously,
then
that's
and then I added in 2 buenos for topping, like
yeah.
2 bars, and then you have an entire bucket of ice cream. And I especially if you do like sorbet options, like fruit options. My mom basically makes these 2, 3 ingredient sorbets. It's just like strawberries, then stevia, so it has no sugar, and then we do flavor drops. You know those things.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't have any calories. They taste amazing. They also sweeten, and then you have a pint of ice cream with 100 calories or 200 calories. It's
Yeah, it's
absolutely insane.
perfect for diet. Yeah, I would say like if you're really addicted to ice cream and like you want to make like a switch, man, getting a Ninja Creamy it will change your life. I the ones I make are so good that I never really have the desire to eat real ice cream, like just
And
because
it's
I
not
enjoy the Ninja Creamy so much.
it's not even if you're addicted to ice cream, but also if you're in a diet and you just want something sweet. At one point I just did whey protein with water, and then I did it in a Ninja Creamy, and it's not really ice cream, but it's extremely sweet, and it's like you would drink your whey shake.
Yeah,
So
it's more
you
enjoyable that
can
way. You eat it
yeah
slower and
You can just
Yeah.
still the sweet tooth that you have, especially if you then add in those flavor drops. Because if you do the vanilla protein powder, for example, and you then do some strawberry drops, maybe add in some frozen strawberries, you just have your whey shake in semi ice cream form, and it tastes decent, but it does still that sweet tooth where like, ooh, I crave something, and especially in like cases like yours when you're actually, for example, addicted to the ice cream, where you're just shoving in buckets. Imagine if you would then just eat the exact same amount of ice cream, all from a Ninja Creamy, you would cut down the half of your calories basically.
Yeah, you're getting a
So
crap ton of protein too, not to mention.
exactly, if you use the whey protein on top, you just showed your approach. Let me my possible approach that I would take. I have, of course, never been obese, but I think this is the way I would, yeah, the tip that I would give people. Because, like, I saw your diet that you were eating before. It's absolutely insane. So, if you're eating that highly processed diet with extreme options, first, I would take it in small steps because there's such an underlying deeper issue. Like, I remember you saying you were eating, I believe, two entire cakes as lunch, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Pies, yeah.
So what I personally would do in a situation like that is if I would then want to make change, I would start really small. So if you're having two cakes, have one cake, or maybe have 1.5 cake. So don't track any calories. Don't be too actively thinking about what I'm eating is wrong. Try to take it slow and then try to move yourself from this over processed, extremely unhealthy, overabundant diet more and more slowly towards whole foods. That would be my first approach because the switch that you made is really something that you're only going to make if you have a lot of motivation for it.
Yeah, it was
But I think
extreme. It
for
was very extreme.
yeah, and you really wanted to change. You were done with it. You were fed up. You're like, okay, I'm going to make this change. I don't want to be obese anymore. I don't want to be bullied. I don't want to have people make fun of me. I don't want to hurt for my parents. And you were like, I hate how I look. I'm done. That's when you can make the change you did. Like, cut everything down and go on an extreme crash diet and just force yourself to lose weight. I think that's not for
It's not
everyone. I think
realistic for most people. It's not
no.
realistic for 99% of people. I 100% agree with
Yeah.
taking it
So what I
slow.
then would do is first look at the portions that you're eating right now. For example, you were eating two entire cakes. Try to eat 1.5 cake. And you do that for every meal you have. A little bit less. And you do that, you do that, you do that. Then you're at 1 cake. And instead of 2 buckets of ice cream, you only eat 1 bucket of ice cream. That will probably already make you lose at least 30 pounds. For
Yeah,
sure. Maybe
that's
even
a lot of
more. It will
calories. Yeah,
might be the 50 first pounds. Just comes from not even an excessive restriction of the meal sizes, but going from 1.5 fucking cake of two fucking cakes to 1.5 cake. It's
yeah. That's
still it's still crazy. But that would probably already over time result in maybe 20 to 50 pounds that are gone. Then you will try and eat one whole food meal. You still allow yourself to eat rubbish in the 6 other meals, but one meal you're going to cook with whole foods, you're going to eat that. And that can be 2000 calories. Who cares about calories at that point? You're already fat. But that just will be to get yourself to a point that you start to realize, oh, cooking is not that hard. Whoa, it's basically the same price, maybe even cheaper compared to the 4000 calories of ice cream I was eating. And you notice, oh, I'm so full. I don't even need the second meal in the evening that I wanted to eat. That would be step 2 for me personally. And then slowly over time, try to get all those other portions that we were eating smaller and smaller and smaller, replace them with whole food options. And then once you managed to get, let's say, to 80% healthy, 20% junk, then start tracking your calories and try to push it down and down and down. And because before that, it's really hard to get the motivation if you've never seen the results. But imagine how motivated you would be if you first look in the mirror and think, I hate myself so much. I don't want to be like this anymore, but it's way too hard for me. But then simply going from 2 cakes to 1 cake results in you seeing a drop of maybe 50 pounds on the scale. You would be then so motivated to keep making changes. And that will ensure your move towards the optimal state of eating whole foods, because then you're like, no, I don't want to eat the cake because I made so much progress with all this hard work. I will eat my whole foods. And once you're there, then you can start tracking, then you can start counting your calories and actually start to do a proper cut towards a healthier body weight. But I think before that, you should really take it slow. In most of the cases, take it slow, make small lifestyle changes over time. And I mean, this can take 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But I think these initial changes of going from I eat like everything processed, 20,000 calories a day, going to 5,000 calories a day of whole foods will be way too hard. That's only made for a specific subset of people like yourself that actually want to make the change with so much passion and maybe hatred for themselves as well. But I think for the general populace, it would probably be better to do more of approach that I just explained. I think personally, but I don't know what
I
you
agree.
think about that.
I definitely agree. I'd say if you're the rare like 0.1% that like are deeply like unhappy with yourself and you really like you're dead serious, I think taking my approach would be good. However, for 99.9% of people, making those like small, even like if you go, because a lot of Americans go out to eat for, every day. I know a lot of people that go out to eat every day. Even just like going out to eat maybe only on the weekend and cooking your meals at home, regardless. And like it doesn't have to be like amazing like food. Just cook a meal at home and just see how it makes you feel. Experiment with different seasonings and sauces and, have fun with it. Find what, or make like a mock meal that you would do at like a burger and fries or something. Go like from make your favorite like Wendy's, meal, burger, fries. You could do that at home and make that very easily low calorie.
Yeah,
Switch to lean
and
beef.
even if you don't really focus on the extreme low calorie stuff, you will probably already have 30% calories less because you're not deep frying everything and using extreme amounts of oil in the sauces and whatever. So it's not even, you don't even need to try to make low calories options go for low carb bread. No, you can actually use regular bread, regular meat, but the meat is not fried in like 10 pounds of lard and has a 500 calorie sauce on top. That will already be enough change, probably. Do you have an air fryer as well? Because I think that's really nice as well. For example, fries. You don't need to fry them in oil. You can just throw them into an air fryer with a teeny tiny bit of oil on top of them, and they will be crisp. It will be an actual fry. So I think that's also a good option. Just like the Ninja Creamy, you can get really close to an actual like dirty type of food, like junk food, but it will literally just be potato without oil. So it's it's still super healthy and doesn't have any calories.
Yeah, not only that, you'll feel amazing. Like I like making those low calorie like the swaps. Like you don't have to cut out your favorite foods, to lose weight. I often say that a lot. Like you don't have to. It's just making a better swap. Like that's incredibly easy. You know, but it's the fact of just knowing that, that option exists because a lot of people don't even know like that option exists.
What would be some good options, you would say? Like, what are your preferred swaps to make? If you look at what you ate before, and then if you would want to swap that for something now, what would be your options? I mean, there, for example, a hamburger. How would you then make that lower calories? What would be your preferred options compared to what you ate before?
Yeah, so my favorite, like my go-to fast food meal, I would go to Wendy's and I would get the Dave's triple, with everything on it, extra mayo, so of course more fat. They're using full fat mayo, um, and then I would get a large fry, and then I would also get a large strawberry milkshake. So for each one of those swaps, I'll say let's start at the fries. Obviously, take russet potatoes, and russet potatoes are so cheap. Chop those up into fries, wash them in some water, have an air fryer, like, do some spray oil on the top just lightly. And you can season it with whatever you want, salt, pepper, some chili powder, maybe. You can make those taste incredibly good. And it's not deep fried in oil. You're easily cutting out like 500 calories right there. And you can have more volume of potatoes too. Like you could have a ton of fries. for so much less calories. Yeah,
Another
go ahead.
good one for the fries is cornstarch. If you just add cornstarch onto like as well as vegetables, but I can imagine most people in your scenario wouldn't really want to eat a lot of vegetables. But
Yeah.
let's say they want to make fries. If you then just simply do cornstarch on the fries as well and mix it up, then do a little bit of oil and then put it in the air fryer. It's like they are not even getting this crispy at the McDonald's. It's like
Yeah.
you really have that type of crunch in the fry from an air fryer without any oil. So that's amazing as well.
Yeah, and also with the burger, they're using I'd assume they're either using 70/30 mince, or they're using
Probably
80/20 mince, which is incredibly calorically dense. Yeah, it tastes amazing, but there's I prefer, like, my go-to is 93.7. That's the leanest they have around here. They don't have nine. I'd say don't go 96.4, because like that it doesn't taste that great. I would go like 93.7. That way you're still getting that fatty, a little bit of juice there. Um, and obviously it's super high protein, lean cut of meat, and you're able to have more. Like, you could have like a half-pound burger. You make that with 93.7, and two slices of, you just go like, American cheese, in all honesty, doesn't have that much calories. um it has, I know it has like less than, like, say, a slice of cheddar or pepper jack or whatever, but I mean, if we want to still stick to the, have that fast food taste, getting, a Velveeta slice, two Velveeta slices on there, and doing like a leaner beef mince. You could do also just like, I do whole wheat bread, which is way less than buns, but you could do like, in America at least, there's so many keto options for buns. Like, one bun's like 60 calories, and there's hardly any carbohydrates in there. Use those buns easily. You're chopping down a 1,000 calorie burger to maybe 500, and it's bigger.
yeah, that
More
would mean you
volume.
could also eat like two of them if you would actually be really hungry. And then you don't even need fries probably. So just because of making the meat change from like going from a 70/30 that they're probably using, or a 80/20 as well. Like if you have a burger, 100 grams of that meat will be 180 calories of fat. So if you make a 200-calorie burger, that's 360 calories of fat that you're consuming. And that will really be the fall pit, the fat that you eat in the diet, because it has so many more calories. Some viewers that are watching might not know this, but 1 gram of protein has 4 grams, 4 calories. 1 gram of carbs has also 4 calories, but then 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. So all this fat, especially in fast food, those 20% fat instead of the 7 or 5% fat in your meat, will be a tremendous change. The mayo, going from a full fat mayo to a low calorie or low fat mayo, will already be an maybe 50% drop in fat. And just if you make those changes, going from deep fried potatoes to potatoes from a air fryer that just have one little spray of oil, that will immediately cut it down, depending on how much you eat, with probably like 300 calories or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where the power of then food swaps come in, like you said. Just picking the same, or picking a comparable option for way less calories, will still satiate your hunger for these extreme junk food options, but they're not unhealthy. They don't have a lot of fat. They're made by yourself, so you also know what's going in them. They don't have all this weird stuff in it that will be in it at Wendy's. I don't know exactly what they add into it in America, but probably not as good. It's probably crack. That's why it's so addictive. but,
Lots
but
of
yeah, just
MSG, I'm
making,
sure.
yeah, MSG as well. But yeah, just making those changes will, for people like you, will make the big impact, because you're still addicted to food on the down low probably, but now you're stilling that addiction and craving with like the right options. So you're basically tricking your body into doing what it wants to do, but it's exactly what you want to do, losing weight. So that's pretty cool that just making those tiny choices have such an drastic impact on your fat loss journey.
Yeah, not to mention, obviously I can't go with low calorie swaps, mentioning those without saying if you're eating or drinking full sugar soda, switching to diet is like the easiest swap you could do. And you're instantly cutting out thousands of like for me, I was drinking like 2 liters of full sugar Mountain Dew a day. Okay, I think that's like 4,000 calories of just liquid calories. And
That's
I
insane.
swapped to diet Mountain Dew instantly. It tastes damn near the same, and
Yeah,
you're
and just
instantly
imagine how
cutting
much weight
4,000
you're
calories
losing.
out. Yeah.
Insane. Just making that one swap from actual soda to diet soda, that's cutting out 2,000 calories a day. That's so much additional fat you will be losing. And I noticed it myself. I was in Germany and they have Mezzo-Mix. It's a mix from Coke, Coca-Cola, and Fanta together.
Oh, that sounds
Tastes really
good.
good, but I went into the store and it was a low carb day, so my brain wasn't really functioning. And I buy a six pack and I look at the packet and I think, yeah, that's the color. I didn't wasn't living in Germany, so I don't know why I was thinking that, but I was like, yeah, this is the color that a zero product would have. I didn't even check the bottle. I was so brain dead, and it just went and yeah, this is a zero color product, and I got it,
Heartbreak.
put it in my bag, was drinking it for a week. I was drinking 1.5 liters a day. Every day I step on the scale and I'm like, how is this possible? I'm finally nailing all my cardio, finally doing all my steps. I lowered my calories. Why am I not losing weight? No clue. And I was doing this for 6 days long. All
Oh
of a sudden, I'm
no.
staying at the train station. I don't even know why I was doing it, but I wanted to look what the ingredients were, just because I didn't have anything to do. And I look at the label and I'm like, 36 calories per 100 milliliters. What? And I turn the bottle around and nowhere does it say that it's zero. So I was
Oh
just
my
drinking 600 calories a day on top of my diet, basically canceling out all the cardio and most of the steps I was additionally taking. And that resulted in no weight loss, no weight change. If I didn't notice this, I would have been still drinking it by now. But yeah, there you can really see how big the impact can be of these sodas, because for me, I'm not an overweight person, but then this one bottle of soda results in me not losing weight anymore because it gets me back to my baseline. And that would mean I had to cut out 600 calories from my regular diet. So I would only be allowed to eat 1,300 calories now, because I'm drinking this one bottle. It's insane. And now imagine that you're drinking those 4 liters that you were drinking. Yeah, that's impossible to lose weight because you're basically not allowed to eat anything because you're consuming your entire dietary calorie intake through drinking.
Straight
It's
carbs.
insane.
Just straight
Yeah,
carbs.
and it's not even unhealthy to make the choice to go to the diet options. I mean, for your GI tract, I know some people do get some problems in their stomach
Yeah.
from it, but for most people, I mean, the studies never really concluded that it's going to be bad. And even if it's going to be bad, I mean, everything is so bad nowadays. Just a little bit of sucralose that you're consuming won't won't put
It's
you in a
not gonna
coffee.
kill you. Yeah.
And especially in your situation when you're obese, the obesity will have a way, way, way worse impact than the sweeteners that you're consuming. So it's a really bad
Yes.
excuse for people to say, no, but the diet drinks are way worse. I will continue drinking my sugar. That will is way better for me. Man, you're obese. You're going to die in 5 years. So who cares about the about the sweeteners?
Yeah, yeah, that's an easy way to like rage bait on Instagram. I found out is just talk about how great diet soda is and how it helped me lose a bunch of weight. And always
Yeah,
you get those people that come in and say, "Oh, you're gonna die." It's like
yeah, yeah.
obesity is gonna kill me way faster than diet soda ever
True,
will.
true. And then on top of that, I mean, you could basically say that diet sodas are the best medication for fat loss. Th- I mean, they're so effective with basically no side effects. One could say it would be the perfect uh, fat loss medication. you were able to cut out 2,000 calories because you make the switch to diet soda instead of drinking regular sodas. That's 4,000 calories a day that you're not consuming, that you don't have to cut out from your diet. And on top of that, for regular people that are not obese, even then, for me, it stills my sweet tooth. It feels like a cheat because I'm drinking Coca-Cola. It feels like I'm drinking Fanta. It really satiates me for that sweet craving that I have. Here we also have these syrups. It's like syrup that you can distill with water. You have a lot of options, but there are also a lot of options that are calorie free or yeah, basically calorie free. It has like 1 calorie per 100 milliliters.
Yeah.
But that allows me to throughout the day, I'm like, oh, nice, something sweet again, you know? Don't just constantly have to drink water. And okay, maybe the sweetener is bad. Who knows? It has never been proven. So I won't go straight to the conclusion that it is bad. And if it's bad, I mean, it would probably have been shown by now. But yeah, that really annoys me on Instagram as well. Then I post on my story, oh, I'm drinking this diet coke, and then people comment, go in my DM and say, yeah, that's not good to consume, that's unhealthy. And then I'm like, the waves that come out from your phone are probably unhealthier than the 1 liter of sucralose I'm consuming, if
Yeah.
we're being honest. And the people that comment about that stuff are not even health conscious.
Yeah.
They probably don't really go to the gym, they probably don't move around a lot, and most of the diet is probably shit anyway. But then, oh no, sucralose, aspartame is bad. There was one study on rats that showed that you get cancer if you consume 5,000 liters of it.
Yeah.
It's really annoying, even though one could basically say that that stuff saved your life in one way or not or another, or at
Yeah.
least had impact on it.
Oh yeah, yeah, big
Yeah.
impact. You know, 4,000 calories being cut out of a diet just by switching liquid, like, oh my gosh, and you know that's more than a pound of fat that you, instantly.
True.
That's more
That's
than a
pretty
pound of
wild.
fat a day that you're just losing. I mean, at the beginning, that's how that's how much I was losing. I was losing about a pound and a half a day just by cutting that, cut by those combinations, those swaps.
I wanted to ask, did you feel extra hunger when you cut out the sodas? Because it is in some, I mean, it's just sugar, so it really digests really quickly and gets into your system really quick. But did you notice any change in hunger? Were you more hungry because you were now not eating 4,000 calories? That your body was like, okay, we need to eat 4,000 calories more of other stuff? Or was it basically netto zero, just going from diet soda to regular soda, no difference in hunger? How did you experience this?
I felt less hunger, less.
Less hunger. Okay.
Less. So, but I think the reason is because, sugar, the constant, rush of sugar. I think it was stimulating that part of my brain. So, "Ooh, I want more of this. I want more, more, more." Now, that would trigger, like when I would drink diet soda, it's like, oh, I want some cake now. I want more, I want more. And that, I think that was causing me to, then go to those other options. But I felt less hungry
Yeah, and
when I switched.
you didn't get the same experience from then going to dietary from going to diet soda that also was sweet. That didn't give the same trigger, right?
No, I think that's just because of there wasn't sugar in it. I mean, it was still sweet, yeah, but I didn't have a desire to go to those other things.
Yeah, I mean
That
it
just
aligns
wasn't
with the
there.
studies, of course. It's basically what it concludes as well. But some people have these weird theories. I don't know where they pull them from Facebook probably. But then they say, yeah, it also raises your blood sugar or it creates the same hunger. I mean, that's simply not true, of course. I mean, the studies don't really show it, but here we can see that you're a clear example. Going from regular soda to diet soda, actually made sure that you're not as hungry, because this constant spike in sugar, that's really not good for your blood sugar as well. But it will go up, it will drop down, and then you're like, yep, I'm hungry again. Let's eat more.
Yep.
But that's what you're basically cutting out by going to the diet soda option. So that's really great that you had such a big impact from that.
Yeah.
And w- let's talk a little bit about the health side of being obese, because you said your doctor basically said if you will continue this, you're going to die in the next years. I can imagine this a really short period, so maybe 5 years that he said that you were going to die. Was there any
Yeah.
period, 5 years or something like
Yeah,
that, or longer?
he said within the next like few years. He wasn't super
Oh yeah,
specific, but
okay.
was
And
seeing how fast I was gaining weight. So I
hmm,
was going to these appointments every 6 months, and I was like gaining about, I was gaining 50 pounds each time I was seeing him.
okay. Okay. And then
Yeah,
it would just
so
get worse and worse and worse, and then you would be morbidly obese and then just be dead.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like I said, when I was 430 pounds, I couldn't wipe my ass, I could barely walk, stuff like that. I was out of breath just
And
getting up.
yeah, did you have, like, because the doctor did say this, was there any tests done specifically about your health as well that you know of? Like, were you pre-diabetic? Were you diabetic? Did they check anything about your heart? What was your blood pressure like? Was it even possible to measure the blood pressure with those big arms? Like, what did your health look like? What was the impact of this diet and of this body weight on your health that was measurable at that time?
So super cool. Since I was on, like I was on medications a lot, I was on Abilify and I was on some other medications as well. I was getting blood work done every 6 months. So super cool. I could probably, I maybe show you next podcast and get it all up on the screen. But I can show you my blood work when I was 430 pounds, and I can show you my blood work now. Super cool
That's
changes,
cool.
especially in triglycerides. Oh my God, my
Mm.
triglycerides were insane. My testosterone was nuked to the ground.
It wasn't your diet that crashed your testosterone. It was the obesity that did.
Yeah, and my estrogen was super high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just made everything worse. So I was also I kind of forget to mention this a lot. I was clinically diagnosed as hypogonadal, and I also went on testosterone replacement therapy at a relatively young age because my testosterone, it never came back when I lost weight. I was at a 50 nanogram per deciliter testosterone level, and I was like 102 when I was 430 pounds. So yeah.
And what was the blood pressure like at that point when you were that heavy, or did they not measure it?
So I had, yeah, they did measure it a lot. I don't specifically remember. Like, I know it was like, I was constantly in like like systolic was like probably 170 and like over like 110. So stage 2 or 3 hypertension, like
Yeah,
constantly.
just speed run for heart attack, basically.
Yeah. And my resting heart rate, I know, was in like the 100s. So.
Okay, so okay, yeah, really bad. And is there any like health effects that you still notice from the time? Like, how were your joints at that time compared to now? How is your blood pressure compared now to then? Is it still on the bad side, or did you see a positive improvement back to a healthy level? Same goes for the heart rate. It was 100 at that time. Did it revert back to a healthy level, or are there in general, are there still things that are measurable where you see that had an impact and it has not been fixed? Or is anything that you know of reversible in your case from the health damages that you did back then?
So I think almost nearly all of it is reversible. I've seen a drastic improvement in literally every health metric: triglycerides, fasting glucose, blood pressure. My blood pressure now is like a one like a constantly like 122 over like 70, like pretty much. I also do a lot of cardio, like just because it makes me feel good. I get in about 15,000 steps a day. My resting heart rate is about, I think it's, yeah, like 58, so super low. Yeah, I just every pretty much everything is improved except one thing: sleep apnea. So turned I've
Mhm.
been sleeping with a CPAP machine for since I was 11 years old, and for then we thought it was just because I was super fat, but my sleep apnea is actually worse now. I still have to sleep with a CPAP mask, and my sleep apnea is a lot worse now. And I'll probably have to sleep with it forever. But turns out, just genetically, I have a deviated like septum. So
Mhm.
these nostrils are very like closed, and I have a habit of mouth breathing. That's also like I grind my teeth a lot in my sleep, and obviously, I had to recently get braces, and so I think also with in regards to that, a lot of it, at least the sleep apnea, was genetic, and we found that out after I lost a bunch of weight. But that's the one thing that didn't get it any better and got worse. And I'm sure me with bodybuilding, it doesn't help. Just
Oh,
having
of course not.
yeah, and I'm just a bigger person, so
It's a really important thing to look at for many people also watching. If you feel sleepy throughout the day or if you snore a lot, it's definitely advised to get a test at least. I also did it, got it done. There was luckily nothing found there, but there were maybe 2 or 3 obstructions measured during the night, but it's not a clinical diagnosis at that point of sleep apnea, so there's not really anything you can do about it. Now I tape my mouth shut and I sleep fine. So it's probably for me as well as breathe through my mouth at night. I grind my teeth very heavily at night, but I just tape my mouth shut, and now I don't have any problems anymore. Do you think also getting the CPAP machine then helped you to control the weight better? Because I know that sleep apnea indirectly can also lead to weight gain. Did you see there any benefit, or was because of the medication you weren't really be able to track it at 11 years old? It was just fucked up anyway.
Yeah, I when I was like morbidly obese, I didn't really know. So I was definitely getting better sleep, like for sure, with the CPAP mask, and it took me about 3 months to get used to. I would always like tear it off in my sleep, so that it did take a while to get used to, and it took conscious effort on my end to really, get in the habit to wear it, because that's, weird as hell going from not wearing anything at night to having this thing on your face, because I have a full face mask. That's what I use. There are different options like, the nose, just the mouth. Yeah, I think just getting used to the CPAP was the hardest part. But once I got used to it and started wearing it literally every night, my hunger, I did notice, decreased a little, like slightly, which, that now that, and I felt clearer headed throughout the day. I was way less tired.
Probably also easier to make conscious choices of the food that you're then taking because you're more awake.
Yeah.
I also noticed this if I don't sleep as well, it's way easier to then allow yourself to maybe grab something else, or you simply don't want to cook. In my scenario, then I'm just tired and I'm like, okay, screw this. I'm driving to McDonald's and getting a meal there. And you really notice that difference in the clear headedness, like you said, where then it's easier to then live into those impulses because your mind will say, okay, let's get some McDonald's. And you're like, you don't really have the power to fight against it, then you get it anyway.
Yeah.
Do you still notice that now that when you're not sleeping properly, or maybe you didn't bring your CPAP, maybe you forget it sometimes? Is there then a change in maybe your impulse control or what you intake on a day? Do you notice anything there right now with your better state?
I would say so. Right now, I'm actually on, I'm on some medications that I'm never hungry. So right now, but before, like when I would
Yeah, I mean
diet,
before starting Ozempic, that you
yeah, before starting
yeah.
Ozempic and Vyvanse, that I would definitely notice it. Like if I got, like, let's say normally, good night of sleep for me is like 8 hours. That's solid. If I wake up, 8 hours of sleep, I feel great. I'm not like drastically hungry in the morning. But if I get, say, I would say less than six, like five, I will wake up instantly just ravenously hungry. All I can think about is food. It's very easy for me to just, I'm thinking about junk all day. The cravings are super strong. It's like a very like immediate change. Couple that with this, you're feeling like crap. What's the easiest thing to go to, right? Food.
I have the exact same. Like this weekend, I didn't sleep a lot. One day I had to travel, so I only slept 3 hours. And then, exactly like you say, you wake up like I don't even want to eat because I'm kind of nauseous because I didn't sleep a lot. But on the other side, I'm like, okay, I need some carbs. I need to eat something, and that's of course your body that wants to compensate for not having enough energy, because your body knows we didn't sleep enough. We need to find some different route to actually fuel us for this day, and that fuel will be food always. So yeah, then it was for me. It was like, okay, I need carbs, and then I don't even think about it. Eat something with carbs, and then throughout the day, I don't really feel satiated. I keep getting hungry, and like you said, I'm not mentally active, and then it's easier to grab something, not really think about it. And I personally noticed it as well, and I don't even have those struggles that you really went through. So sleep probably is already a big thing that people can change to then help them make the right choices, help them control their hunger as well, because a lot of hormones get activated, especially at night. If you don't sleep on time, then you will get hungry at night. You will fill up your night with food, and then you don't sleep enough. Next morning, you're hungry again, and the entire food regulation process will be so off. And on top of that, like you said, you will feel like shit. So then, what's the best way to not feel like shit? Eat something that temporarily like lowers the feeling of of
Yeah,
feeling
that
bad.
dopamine hit. Yeah, the
The
quick dopamine.
dopamine hit, just quick. I'm going to shove in this hamburger, and then whilst you're eating it, you're like, why am I eating this hamburger? And then when you're done, you're like, why did I eat this hamburger? I feel even more more shit. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think
like
sleep in that regard is really important as well.
yeah, not to mention, I mean, not just for like regulating hunger hormones, but there's a ton of studies done like where people were in the same caloric deficit, and one group got like
True.
5 hours of sleep a night, the other got eight, and they lost the same amount of weight. Yes, however, the group that was getting 5 hours of sleep was lost like a ton of muscle, like their actual
Yeah, I
fat
totally
mass.
forgot about that. I
Yeah,
know I remember the percentages. It was like the one that slept, I believe, 5 hours. They lost 70% in muscle and 30% in fat from the total fat loss. And the group that slept 8 hours was exactly the other way around. They lost 30% of muscle and 70% of fat, something like that. I remember the study. And that's also where it's then, I mean, we can go on and on and on about calories in, calories out, but I mean, it is true because both, like you seen and like you said, both scenarios lost the same amount of weight because it is a caloric equation. But at the end of the day, what do those calories consist of? That's the important part. And especially if we stray a little bit away from the whole obesity spectrum to regular fat loss, or maybe look at bodybuilding or fitness, if you don't sleep proper, this study shows, but also personal experience shows, maybe your experience shows as well. If you then don't sleep enough, yes, the scale will go down, but your muscle as well. So the calories in, calories out is there then still correct, but we do want to maintain as much muscle as we can, of course. So we need to make sure that we perfect everything to at least get muscle retention, and in the best case, gain some muscle, like you did during your journey. But that's where sleep will be highly effective, of course. Yeah, good that you mentioned that one. I completely forgot about that study, but that's extremely important. Yeah,
yeah. That's just you think of it like sleep. You how are you going to be training if you're getting like 5 hours of sleep a night? You're probably going to be losing strength. Your gym session, your training sessions aren't going to be that good of quality. But and I think that has a lot to do with it in regards to the muscle loss. Is if you're strength training, you're losing a ton of strength, and you're just feeling like crap every day. How's your training is not going to be great, but if you're sleeping 8 hours a day, your training sessions are going to be awesome. So, and there's just so many there's just so many things that compound off of another if you're getting, good sleep. Those good habits, I like to
yeah,
say it's a snowball effect. If your diet's on point, if your sleep's good, it compounds. It's
yeah. And it's
seriously.
impossible to do things proper if you don't have your sleep in check. I notice it myself. Sleep has been my biggest struggle my entire life. I find it extremely hard to go sleep on time. It's literally the last months I've been moving closer and closer to something that's good. But since I'm maybe 12, I haven't slept before 1 a.m., I think. Like maybe some nights. But in general, I don't go sleep before 1 a.m. But it screws up your entire day, especially if you have to work. You need to wake up early, forced, so you don't sleep enough. But now I'm self-employed, so I can choose when I wake up. But if I then go to sleep at 3 a.m., then I would have to wake up at 12 p.m. so I can get my 9 hours of sleep. But then the entire structure of the day is completely screwed up. You will try to start your day, but in the end hours of the day, let's say after 10, it's not like then between 10 and 3, you're going to eat 3 more meals and going to be productive with work and whatever, just laying around
Yeah.
and scrolling on your phone maybe or watching a movie. That's the reason why you're probably not sleeping. But you will just compact your hours so much because then I only have from 12 to let's say 10 instead of 8 to 10. So why not just sleep at 10 if you're not going to do anything after that? And once
Yeah.
you go to sleep on time and then wake up on time, then it will be easy to get a regular breakfast, eat a lunch, eat something at night, and maybe eat a little bit of snack, and then you go sleep. You have 4 meals throughout the day. That will already be not the 8 meals and 5 nighttime snacks that you ate before. and then on top of that, you will be more productive because you have a regular day, you have enough sleep. It falls right into your circadian rhythm, like those between 10 and 9 in the morning. If you sleep there, it's way, way, way better. So it falls there as well. In all regards, your life just gets easier and better. So, but it's so hard to sleep on time. For me, at least, it's the most difficult thing to do.
No, it
Yeah.
definitely is for me too. I mean, both of us, we have business, we have a business to run. We're doing other things. We have other projects in our life, trying to maintain a social life. You have a girlfriend. All that takes a ton of time out of your day, and managing that, trying to get to sleep at a good time.
Yeah, and then
It's
always
hard.
sleep is the easiest to cut out because you're like, okay, then I just go sleep later. I need
Yeah.
to finish some editing. Okay, then I just go sleep at 1
Yeah.
instead of 10. Easy. Boom. Problem fixed, time fixed. But
Yeah.
oh man, and I always underestimate the power of sleep until I then get like a slap in the face and I realize why it's so good. And the first time, it has only happened recently, the first time when I actually finally understood how powerful sleep was I had pain in my knee after a leg day. And usually that pain results in me not being able to train for 2 weeks because the pain would not go away. And that night, I I slept 13 hours. I just planned 13 hours in and I slept all of them. The
That's
next day, the
awesome.
pain was gone. And that was the first time that I then truly felt and was as well conscious and aware of the actual regenerative properties of sleep. And I know everyone always says, yeah, you recover in your sleep, blah, blah, blah. But you're not really aware of it. But that was the first time that I was like, okay, wait, the pain is gone. Usually it's there for 2 weeks. And it was one instance. But since then, every time I had some form of, maybe, a little bit of pain here, I plan in a 12-hour sleep session. And I go to sleep earlier and then sleep 12 hours. Next day, the pain is gone, completely away. And now, especially, I do full body. So I train every other day. Now I notice, because you don't have a lot of room for error during full body because you're training so close together, the same body parts. So the
Hmm.
recovery has to be on point. But now I actually notice if I sleep a little bit too less, like last weekend, I only slept 3 hours, then I have muscle soreness for 2 days. Even though if I would sleep properly after the training, the muscle ache or muscle pain, delayed onset muscle soreness would be gone halfway through the next day. But now I'm walking around with it for 2 days and I can't train. And the same goes for like not an injury, but like a pain. My shoulder hurts. Usually I walk around with that for 2 weeks. I plan in 12 hours of sleep. Boom, it's gone. And especially now during this full body phase, I really notice that if I don't sleep enough, I directly notice the recovery capabilities dropping, regressing in the next training session, and then you finally get like aware of how powerful the sleep is and how important it is, for example, on this muscle growth, but as well on, let's say, on how full you look, and as well on how much body fat you lose, because you will actually lose less body fat if you don't sleep on time. And every time I as well plan in those 12-hour sleeping sessions for recovery purposes, or let's say I plan in naps throughout the day if I need some extra recovery, I'm full. I literally, the first time I did one of those sessions, I woke up like I had a pump because finally everything got recovered properly. Probably all my nutrients that I had eaten throughout the day were all properly put into the muscle, something like that. And
Yeah.
once you finally start sleeping on time and finally start sleeping properly, then you will actually see how great it is. Because if you always sleep deprived or always sleep too late, you will not see any difference, of course.
Yeah.
But once you experience it, it's insane.
Yeah, I think in regards to like I like to say it as it's a triangle. There's training, diet, and sleep. I think sleep is just as important as diet. I think those two are very close together in training. But like if sleep and diet are dialed, like training will
Yeah, but
just
it's
fall
it's
right in.
really hard. It's really hard to quantify it like that because, for example, I never slept well, but my diet was in check and my training as well, and I made progress. But if I just sleep on time and I don't diet, then there's no progress.
Yeah.
So
If you'd make better progress. You'd make
of
way more
course it's
progress
better.
if it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's difficult. It's difficult to quantify it. So I
Yeah.
just don't try to quantify it and say all of it's important. Don't try to screw anything up,
Yeah.
because if you make those quantifications, then people are like, okay, my training is a little bit less important. I don't need to go as hard on
Yeah.
it. I
Don't worry
just
about it.
sleep
Yeah.
better and eat. That mentality is then what you create. Because in my mind, it always was diet is or training is the most important. Then comes diet, and then comes sleep. And that mentality for me then resulted in me doing my training properly, dieting a little bit less properly, and sleeping shit. Because it was like, this is the most important, then this, then this.
Yeah.
But you just need to see it as a like perfect symbiosis.
It's all
Everything
important. You should
is
be doing it.
equally important to get the maximum result. And the same goes for the fat loss. I mean, you can tell yourself the training. It's really important to train a lot and move a lot. But if you only do that and don't do the diet and don't do your sleep, still fuck up. If you only do your diet, only do the training, don't sleep on time, you never create a scenario where you will be actually able to adhere to the diet and the training, because you screw up your day structure by not sleeping on time and sleeping too little. So these two will also be shit.
Yeah.
So it's I never try to quantify it. I understand why people do it to explain it, but I
Yeah.
think it's better to just say optimize your sleep. That will result in better training and diet. Doing better diet will result in better training and sleep. Better training will result in better sleep and will make it easier to adhere to diet. So it's perfect symbiosis between the three. That's like,
It's back to
yeah,
that snowball of habits that I was talking about. It is a
exactly like
real
you said.
thing. Momentum. It is so
Yeah.
real. So real.
Okay, Max. I think that's it for today. We discussed basically the intro of your fat loss experience and some of my takes on it. The next weeks and episodes, we will try to go, like we said before to each other, we will try to go more in depth into everything that you experienced, your blood work, all the data you tracked, problems you faced, how you overcame those problems, medication you took, whatever. We will put it all apart in the next episodes. There's a lot to discuss because you have been on this journey for a really long time. And so I think that's extremely interesting probably for the viewers to actually see what you went through and how you got to this point. But for today, it's probably it. So I thank everyone for watching again. I hope you took some things from this podcast episode that you will use in your personal life. Maybe they inspired you, maybe Max's story inspired you to make some changes. And I hope we or he helped you to, yeah, see that you should make some changes, even if they're little. Every change is better than no change. And like Max said, it's life threatening or was life threatening for him. So the changes are never bad to make. Yeah, I just told you what the next episodes will probably be about. We will see where this takes us. We will discuss everything that Max faced. If you are interested into seeing Max's entire journey, my take on it, and his own take on it, how he would do this in the future, or maybe stuff he would change, or stuff he would give you guys as advice, subscribe down below. And this was episode 1 of Fat Loss with Max. Thank you guys for watching.